leader in real estate development and construction with over 15 years of experience. Ralph oversees projects from land acquisition through completion, working on large-scale residential and mixed-use developments in one of the fastest-growing markets in the country. Today, we're diving into what it really takes to build at scale, how major developments come together, and what's happening in today's market. Make sure to subscribe for weekly conversations with leaders in real estate, business, and capital markets. This week on Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast, we're joined by Ralph Calderon.
Hello, and welcome to the Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast. As always, we're very delighted to have you with us, and we're excited about our guest today. We have Ralph Calderon from the Neologically, I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Neology.
Neology Group. I'm trying to put too many syllables in there. Development team down in Miami. So forgive me. How you doing, bud? Doing
Wonderful.
all right?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Well, we're excited to have you as well. And what's interesting is I was just in your neighborhood actually a few weeks ago. Actually, it was week before last. So it was exciting to see the developments down there and what's going on. I guess I should have pulled up the properties that I did inspect, but I'm not going to give the competition any free press, so I'm not going to do that. We'll talk about that offline.
So, you got it.
Yeah. But it's good to have you with us today.
Great to be here.
It's a great area that you're at, and I tell you something else interesting. I didn't realize you guys were actually in Coconut Grove. I was down there at the Lowe's in Coconut Grove.
Yeah, we are.
Probably like right up the street from you, right?
Yeah, just down the street. We're in the heart of Coconut Grove, right on South Bay Shore Drive, across from the bay. Very fortunate to have this view every morning. Fortunate to have the view. It's a little tough on Fridays when you see everyone heading out on the boat and we're stuck in the office, but still, nonetheless, it's an inspiring view.
There you go. It sounds good. Well, Raphael, tell us a little bit about who you are. I know you're with the Neology Group, and you've been there for like ever. But it looks kind of like a family arrangement there. So
it is.
Who are you, and what do you do for a living?
So Ralph Calderon, I'm Chief Development Officer for Neology Group. We are a vertically integrated development firm. We do some self-perform. We don't GC our projects completely, but we do self-perform several aspects of the construction process. But been with the company most of my career. It's a family business. My sister Lisette Calderon, CEO. I handle construction as I like to say. She picks it, I stick it. And then even our mother works in the business with us. So very fortunate. It's not a story you hear often of, you hear these horror stories of family business and very hard to work together. We're fortunate we couldn't see it any other way. We're blessed to work together, see each other every day, spend quite a lot of time together, and it works for us. It's a blessing.
Well, that's good. Yeah, a lot of families can't do that. So that's quite impressive. Take my hats off to you. So I'm glad you're able to pull that off. But yeah, as I mentioned, I was down there a couple weeks ago and just really impressed with all the development that's going on. It seems like it never stops. One thing that's unique about Miami is, coming out of New York and other places that I've been, the majority of the skyline is office buildings. Miami is like the opposite. It's mainly residential towers, and it's quite interesting that just the overall dynamic down there. How are things?
You have
go
pockets.
ahead, please.
No, you have pockets. You have some areas that higher density urban infill. We have some true mixed use. You have very residential neighborhoods like Coral Gables, and I think that's one of the beauties of Miami, and that's what has brought so many people to our city. The benefit of having those different neighborhoods, but it's still all cohesive and close enough where you can enjoy it. There's something for everyone down here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you a little bit about, tell me a little bit about the company, and then there's some specific questions I want to ask, because I know you're kind of focused in one particular area, and you've been around for a while. You guys have a few projects under your belt. So fill us in.
So the company, we kind of started out, cut our teeth in the condo world
Okay.
up until about 2010. And then shortly after that, we transitioned into multifamily rentals. Always been, high rise, some mid rise stuff, but predominantly high rise, urban infill type of projects are, one thing we're known for and we're proud of is um, it's kind of growing new areas, pioneering new parts of town. The Miami River, we were the first high-rise condo project west of 95 on the Miami River.
Okay.
Then on the east side as well, several projects there. And then, as we transitioned into the rental market, we saw that there's a need for quality kind of lifestyle driven product in the Alapata area, close to downtown, close to downtown, close to the hospital, close to the airport. You're 10, 15 minutes away. It's very centralized. And we kind of we focus on its workforce housing. We house the engines that run the city is something we like to say here.
Hmm.
It's really, we're not, we don't focus on ultra luxury. There's people doing a great job with that. So really the workforce housing is our strong suit, and that's something that we've fortunately been able to develop. We have what, close to 25-year career in that space.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, you talk about the ultra luxury. Actually, one of the projects that I did tour, which I guess I will bring up because it is not a competitor, is the and I'm always pronouncing it wrong, but it's the 82-story condo project that's going up just outside of Brickell. You know which one I'm talking about?
Oh yes,
Yeah. Caprizi or
uh, I forget. Yeah,
yeah, it starts with a C.
the Cipriani. Is that
Cipriani. Yeah, yeah,
Cipriani?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
wonderful. And,
Very,
and
very
I think
impressive
Miami.
project, but mhm.
Exactly. That's the beauty of Miami is that you have high quality, lifestyle driven, attainable luxury product like ours, but
Yeah.
you also have uber luxury product like that. You have the beach. I mean, and there's developers doing phenomenal jobs on both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
There's enough room
So,
for everyone.
yeah, exactly. I did want to ask you this. That particular neighborhood that you picked, I thought that was interesting because from what it appears to me, it's kind of it's close to the airport. It's kind of in the flight path. So
So,
yeah, talk to me about
so
that.
it's
Why you
interesting.
guys decided on that?
It's close to the airport, which is one of the big economic drivers of the Alapata area, but actually, it's even closer to the health district.
Okay.
Um, our health district is the second largest behind Houston. We
Really?
have, yeah, it's the second largest in the country
Hmm.
behind Houston. And that's really about 37 to 40% of our tenants are healthcare related one way or the other,
Oh,
whether
okay.
Jackson, U Health, and then we have another large percentage
Hmm.
from the airport jobs. Those are kind of the two main drivers of, two main employment centers that we rely on. But there's tons. Obviously, you're close enough to Coral Gables. You're very close to downtown. We even have some people as far as Broward, just
Hmm.
because Alapata is actually in a phenomenal location for access to a lot of major roadways.
Hmm.
So that's something that we've leveraged, and yeah, the area has had exponential growth since, really 2016, 17, our first project there.
Yeah, yeah, and that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you about because you guys started assembling land back in 2016, and but nobody else was really looking at that area back at that time. So,
Yeah.
what do you think was the things that you guys saw that was the economic driver to make you say, you know what, let's plant our stake here, as opposed to all the other areas that are
Well,
available in the city there?
well, there's certain key, I guess we could kind of talk about a little bit what we look for when
Okay,
we're evaluating a site. I guess we can kind of touch on that because Alapata is a perfect
sure,
example.
that plays
The,
into it. Sure.
yeah, the first one's obviously location. As I mentioned before, there was a strong employment center, being medical, airport, and just proximity to other areas of Miami. There was also a need. I think the density was there, and in the
Hmm.
surrounding areas, but there wasn't a product that we can bring people in from the, kind of the outskirts of Brickell, further, parts west of the county.
Hmm.
And we provided that, so really there was market depth within a distance, but at a much higher rate. There
Hmm.
wasn't a whole lot of market depth in, within the Alapata proper. Now today it's a completely different story. I mean, the rents that we get today versus what we initially expected to get are, I mean, it's kind of crazy to look at.
Hmm.
And also transit being critical component. And Alapata really checks off all of those boxes.
Gotcha, gotcha. So that's interesting. Now, your model, from what I understand, is mainly buy and hold. Is that correct, or are you
That is
buying and
correct.
selling as develop? Okay,
Yeah, so we're in a fortunate and advantageous position that we also manage everything we build. So we buy and hold. We have
okay,
about 1,250 units under management that we've developed currently.
okay.
So yes, we buy and hold, we manage, and the managing part, it was again one of those things that came through necessity. It wasn't our initial intention. We've had third-party operators before,
Hmm.
but it just worked out that really to be able to control all aspects and get the proper, and more importantly, the proper feedback we need for the design development phase of the project. These projects you're building these buildings to last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 plus years physically. But
Hmm.
the lifestyle components of it, which is really what we try to foster, a true lifestyle driven amenity package, you have to constantly have your finger on the pulse of
Hmm.
what is it that your tenants are looking for. And I think by self-managing these projects, we're in a very strong position to, kind of early onsetters. What are people looking for? What do they want? Lifestyles change, trends change. I mean, at
Yeah,
one point in life, shuffleboard was a hot new, amenity, and on Miami Beach projects, and
yeah.
haven't seen one of those since probably the 80s. Um, and even
Mhm.
post-COVID, there's been so many changes within, 6 years post-COVID of what we see lifestyle changes, what the amenity packages are, what people really want, focus on, what's important to them. So again, that's constantly evolving. And again, since we do hold and manage, we get to see those shifting trends really early on, and
Mhm.
allows me, which is a big part of my job, which is not really, I don't deal as much with the day-to-day management of it. What I really focus on, I deal with management because I try to bring that into what I underwrite in the projects going forward. For example, right now we're in site plan review for phase one of a 900 unit project, their first
Mhm.
339 units, um, with and it's already been announced, so I can say it in partnership with the Rubel Museum, the Rubel family,
Mhm.
and that there's a lot of things that we used to probably underwrite in terms of amenity packages that were important. Forget 2000, condo days, 2005, 6, but even as early as 2000, or as late as, sorry, as 2016, 17, which now completely have shifted our mindset on
Mhm.
what we provide our tenants, those amenity
Right.
packages.
Yeah, yeah. And I find this interesting because when you think of Miami, most people that are coming to the area, they think beachfront and South Beach, and that's kind of the mindset, and it's kind of that party, party, party mentality. But then when I was going through areas which I didn't know I was actually in the Alapata area, but I did kind of circle through there. As I mentioned to you, I stopped off at the Moxie with some other
Yep.
folks that I was with. Um, there seemed to be a huge art scene down there. There was a lot of buildings with art all over them and beautiful artwork.
So the Wynwood started with the art
Okay.
scene. I think that's really what has put Wynwood on the map nationally and internationally. Like, we have Art Basel down here in South Florida. Most of the events happen, you have Miami Beach downtown, but a large majority of the events happen in Wynwood just because it's our arts district. But
Mm,
fortunately, that has now started to spill over west of the highway, as I was mentioning earlier, where Alapata is,
Mhm.
and our partnership. One of the most known private collections is the Rubel family art collection, and that's who we're in partnership for the next 900 units.
Mhm.
So Alapata has become the art and cultural, which again, I think that's one of the pillars of any good community,
Mhm.
right? You have housing, housing, retail, but art, culture, museums, playhouses. That's a very important part of any city for growth.
Mhm.
And that art and culture has, actually the Rubels were one of the earliest to come into Alapata with the art scene.
Mhm.
They're actually across the street from Super Blue, which is Mackenzie Bezos' immersive art experience.
Mhm.
Those are both Alapata locations. So, it is, just except Alapata houses a little bit more of the workforce that services that Wynwood, Miami Beach, Coral Gables, a lot of the other, and again, medical and
Mhm.
or health district and the airport. So we're
Gotcha.
just a true, I would say it's one of the workforce cores of our city.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That sounds good. So, what, talk to me about differences in amenity packages. And what I mean by that is obviously what you would offer at something that's on South Beach would not necessarily be the same amenity package in Alapata. Workforce housing has a different amenity package from other areas. So, what are you really seeing is the desirable amenities that people are wanting in these particular areas like Alapata?
Correct. So, with that, that's an important factor, right? A lot of
Hmm.
people, think, what amenities should I have or shouldn't? Well, that depends. What's your product? Is it condo? Is it rental? Is it on Miami Beach? Is it on Brickell? Is it in Coral Gables? Or is it in Alapata?
Right.
So those are some of the initial key factors. But um, you have different levels of it. But let's be honest, we all walk each other's buildings, and what we try to provide, and again, we always use the term attainable luxury. Um,
Hmm.
we provide what we really try to curate is a lifestyle experience. So you have physical amenities. You
Hmm.
have, and we can get into kind of how those have shifted, which because I find that a really interesting dynamic. I kind of nerd out on that a little, um, because you're always trying to project, right? What's the next
Yeah,
trend?
yeah, yeah. What's the
But
next
you have
trend?
your physical amenities. You have gyms. You have. We focus a lot on outdoor gathering spaces. Um, at one point a security desk and your stereotypical security front desk go through security, then hey, you get buzzed up to whatever unit you're going to visit.
Mhm.
That has changed with technology. Now everything is key fob, so we've kind of gone more of the style. There's several hotel chains that were doing it early on, um, that we somewhat realized, hey, I think this is the direction of where people are going, where
Mhm.
we activate all our common areas. We use heavy activation. So we have, as I was saying, we have the gym, club room, spas, yoga rooms. But instead of a regular gym that was all just weighted equipment,
Mhm.
now a large component, and it continues to grow because that's the way the trends are going. The like virtual fitness. Virtual fitness started with two Peloton style bikes.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it's probably 40% of the space.
Mhm.
Sweat on demand, 1,300 courses. But so those are physical amenities, but really we focus on is a lot of these using those physical amenities because we can only, like all of us in the market can only build so many things. We can only add so many amenities
Mhm.
before it starts becoming inefficient. So, we really strive for the additional, those intangible amenities like fitness. We have several times a week. We have yoga instruction. We have partnership with Pilates instruction.
Okay.
We have a lot of food truck events throughout the month.
Okay.
We really focus and put a lot of money into the pools, pool areas, the sound system, the outdoor experience. So it really becomes a holistic lifestyle experience versus just, having overly sized common areas that get used by 20% of the residents. And that, it helps twofold. Um, it helps retention. It adds value, but to you, if I can give you a really nice gym with sweat on demand, um, several food truck days a month, a lot of community events, and I can save you $400, $500, $600 a month in ancillary spending or services. I think that that's something, that is really where the separation starts to happen, I think, amongst us developers and our product, because physically there's a handful of architects, there's a handful of,
Yeah.
contractors.
Hmm.
You build something beautiful and I see it and I fall in love with it. Guess what? I'm going to tell my architect, hey, I want you
Yeah.
to design,
Right. Right.
to
Add this.
that,
Yeah.
which becomes a whole nother,
Yeah.
topic of
Yeah.
trying to stay ahead of those trends.
Right.
But really, what our core principle is, we obviously design the best building we can, but the most efficient in the
Hmm.
long term to manage, because we manage, and if we can manage the building well, we can manage the customer experience well, which in turn helps retention. Keep it all piggybacks off of each other. It's all done with the same purpose, but yes, my physical amenities are as important as those, intangible lifestyle amenities that we provide.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right. Well, that sounds good. I do have a couple of other things I want to ask you about that, because we're in a similar space. We're not in your market, but just want to get your feedback, because the environment down there also is different from the environments where we do our stuff. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But let's do this. We're a little bit behind. We're going to take a quick 20-second break, and we'll be right back here on the Mornings with Joel CRE podcast.
Impact Air 99. We asked real people, try the Impact Air 99.
Breathable, light, but protective.
Feels very comfortable wearing it. It looks cooler.
It's almost surprising how much air you can get in.
Engineered with 6 layers of nanoscreen technology that blocks over 99% of viruses and bacteria, while allowing you to breathe freely and speak clearly.
My glasses are not fogging up.
I could wear this all day.
Hi, we're back with Ralph Calderon here on the Mornings with Joel CRE podcast. And Raphael, we were just talking about trends and amenities and staying ahead of the curve and all those type of things. And I could imagine it would get, to be real interesting in your market, where one developer's doing one thing, and like you said, it's like, wow, that's cool. Call your architect, add this to my next project, and you're kind of going through that whole thing.
Doing it within a budget.
Yeah, all within doing it within a budget. So that's quite interesting. I did want to ask you right quick, because I also want to talk about the 14th Street project and number 17, because you did some remarkable things with those two projects. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But what have you seen with the demand for rooftop pools and also dog parks? You could take those one at a time, but I'm kind of as you said, you kind of get to the point where you're like, is it worth still doing this because of the maintenance and everything else, especially on a swimming pool? And in northern markets, it's not as used, obviously, as frequent as the South Florida market. So
it either has to add to your bottom line,
mhm.
it has to either transition to some type of increased rent or an increased customer experience. One of the two. If it doesn't check one of those two, then hey, does it really make sense? And some people, and it's happened to all of us, we spend money on something we think is going to be great, and then it doesn't get the use. And so you have to be flexible in your spaces and your design. But specifically, rooftop, we haven't really done any rooftop pools, but we do, I guess, technically, rooftop of the parking area.
Like a mezzanine
elevator
area.
pool decks. Yeah, all are because of space constraints. If I'd like, most efficient, sure, I'd love to pool. I'd love to get my pool on the ground floor. We just in these urban areas that we redevelop,
Can't do it.
Square footage is too expensive.
Right.
So the pool deck, I would say that fitness and outdoor areas, especially post-COVID, have become those are primary points of focus. Amongst some others inside as well, but those are critical. We have at 17, as you mentioned, we have rooftop lounge that gets an extreme amount of use. People love it, and it's not just. Again, it goes back to those saving things. I don't just have to use it, on the weekends or during the week, go outside and hang out and have a drink. I can actually host events there, so I don't need rent. Other locations. I can have these events within my own home. It doesn't cost anything, just security deposit, and again, it adds those savings. That's that's a big one. And you mentioned the second. I'm sorry, I kind of got long-winded on the pool portion of it, but you said it.
Well,
You mentioned the
I
second.
mentioned a dog park and
Yeah.
the
So
pool because dog
that's the
parks at
one.
one point was
That's the
super
one.
hot.
That a
Yeah.
dog park and pet spa, non-negotiables. You have to have them, and
Really?
even in existing products that didn't have them before, we've had to go in and retrofit and add
Mm,
dog park and dog spa. A huge majority of all our tenants across the board are pet owners.
wow.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if it was a post-COVID boom or what it was. I mean,
Yeah.
I now at home, admittingly, my wife's trying to kill me with a heart attack. I have 4 dogs myself now.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Wow.
three was too many. So let's just really put the nail in the
Yeah.
coffin.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have. I mean, most people have dogs. We have several that have 2 dogs. But yes, pet related amenities are huge.
Mm,
And even to the point where part of that curated experience package, we're very picky on our retailers that come in. What tenants do we bring in for the commercial
mhm,
spaces?
mhm.
And actually, I'm very proud to say that at the Julia, the Northwest 20th project, we actually have a veterinarian coming into one of those spaces that will also have pet
Okay.
care, pet grooming, so on and so forth, to the point where, I think they've really looked at it and not just the surrounding area, but our building alone, how
Yeah.
pet friendly it is. But yes, you hit on two of the most important amenity packages, and then, fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought about that because the dog park at this particular one of the other properties that I toured there, it was elevated, but you did have some odor concerns, because of that, but they tried to separate it away from the pool. So it was kind of interesting the way that was laid out.
Yeah, because
But
of
this place
smell.
had 2 pools as well, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do, and we have run into that where we consider elevated, and that is a challenge. Like,
Yeah.
you want to put it where it's accessible, and it's going to get used, and accessible and safely accessible, where people don't really have to, walk outside the building, stay within the constraints of your
Mm,
security system within those
sure.
bounds. But you also have to weigh in, is it going to smell? How's it going to look? I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into maintaining it, constant
Hmm.
upkeep, but it's invaluable. It's a necessity at this point. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see the different applications of dog parks all over.
Right. Yeah, yeah, it was quite interesting to see how they've been doing that in South Florida. Let's talk a little bit about 17th because I one thing
Yep.
we always try to focus on is the meat and potatoes behind the business. As we talk on this podcast, make it a little less social. On the 17th project, you guys leased that up in record time, and that was during the height of the pandemic. So I'm basically thinking, okay, how did you guys actually, do that? You have a thesis with the idea of this is a great area to be, um, and you're able to do things in an area that a lot of the development hasn't caught up to yet. So you would wonder, well, how in the world was that place able to, lease up so quickly? So how do you repeat that as well as you go forward in other projects? And what happened with the 17th as to why that was so successful? Do
I
you think?
think that was a litmus test. For that was, the proof of concept, right? For the Alapata
Yeah,
area.
exactly. Hmm.
And as great as I like to think we are, and as and as great as our product is, but I think it's a true testament to identifying needs in certain areas and servicing those needs. I think
Hmm.
that's the part that we really, got right, is, hey, identifying a need and servicing that need with quality, and integrity.
Hmm.
And so I think, I would love, and next time you're in town, I would love, to walk you, through the different
Oh yeah.
projects. But
Hmm.
yeah, we got stuck. We were in the middle of the pandemic during that
Hmm.
project. Um, like most things, and in order to have a career, this long, and still have great reputation and continue growing, we, in complete honesty, and be an open book with your
Hmm.
partners, your investors, your team. But yeah, we basically, it's one of those things. I don't know if you ever have those moments in your life that you're like, it seems really scary. you just kind of get your head down and grind through it, and you come out on the other side and you're like, well, I can't tell you exactly what went right, but I can tell you things that went wrong. It's like you learn more
Okay,
from
yeah.
those lessons.
Yeah.
So exactly, hey, how did we do it? I think through integrity, hard work, and staying focused. And not just us. Look, there's a lot of developers in this town that got caught in that, and hats off to them for doing it as well. We had a phenomenal team. We had phenomenal partners. Our contractor at that time, I mean, I couldn't be more thankful. Our contractor and all our subcontractors, we all sat down like this on Zooms daily. The job sites never closed. Everybody social distance. We had issues where certain trades didn't want to be on the same floor. And obviously, if you've been to a construction site, it's like an ant farm. Everybody's all over each other. So we were able to sequence the jobs where certain trades would come in, and then, hey, you have till Thursday. On Friday, the other trade comes in, and sure, it's you have to go through some more hoops, but we got through it. We relatively on time and on budget. At the time, it was more of logistical and supply chain issues and really cost escalations. That came a little bit after. That was a whole nother fiasco. But
I'll get to that.
We got through that. But again, it was more supply chain. But yeah, we were very fortunate to get through it. And again, the biggest thing with tenants, partners, everybody, you have to be transparent. You have to say, hey, these are the problems. It's outside of our control, but let's focus on how do we work through this together, and setting the table of expectations. I think that's critical in any aspect, in any business, really. But yeah, we got that one leased up. And again, record time, record numbers. Part of it was, like I said, it's a phenomenal product, but it's a testament to what the market needed and identifying that need. Same thing we did on the Miami River years back, 20 something years ago in the condo market. And that's something that I have to take my hat off to. Lisette has a great knack for identifying, those needs in those new areas.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because in most markets, you had just the opposite. People were leaving apartment buildings, and I know in a lot of markets, people were fleeing to the suburbs because they were like, look, I don't want to live around a bunch of people. Let me just, even in places like New York City and other areas, where you had that.
And that's part of why, I think, again, you have to design with flexibility in mind for your amenity packages, because that's what outdoor gathering spaces, fitness, pools, like those are things that we realized. Zoom rooms, a lot more work from home. So we do a lot of co-work spaces, a lot of, Zoom rooms, and everybody's doing it now.
Yeah.
But I think the market as a whole, we learned, hey, these were my wants and needs then. These are my wants and needs now. And yeah, people wanting to get outside, being locked in these apartments. We went on workforce housing, for example. You look at some of the early buildings, not all the units have balconies, only certain ones. Post-COVID, everything had a balcony, everything, because even, sometimes you just want to get out. I mean, it doesn't have to be big, but you just have to be able to get outside and get some fresh air, get some vitamin D, and again, those they're not your standard, quote unquote amenity package, but it is the entire lifestyle is an amenity.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Well, I mean, it's a lot of credit to you guys, because again, from what you're saying, the demand in that particular market, you realized that, and you created a product that the demand offset the desire for people to flee out to the suburbs and get away from people. So it was almost like, I'm worried about this COVID thing, but this property is so nice and so amenitized that I would rather stay here and wear a mask and take my risk than, buy some house way out in the suburbs somewhere.
Absolutely. And that's
a
exactly
skill set to do that.
That's exactly the thinking. And again, it's a skill set to do that. But as I said earlier, we're fortunate since we do have, since we manage the projects, we constantly get to see, hey, what are people saying that they like? What do they not like? We have a lot of kind of quarterly broker meetings. A lot of the leasing agents, outside leasing agents come in. Hey, what are you getting pushback on? Whether it be parking, certain amenities. And constantly take that, and it's always evolving to the next project. And you'll
Yeah.
see our amenity packages. They'll be similar, but they'll change project to project. They're always evolving. Amazon package rooms. Sometimes I get home, I feel
Yeah.
like an Amazon distribution warehouse,
Yeah.
and everywhere. So that's all of us.
Yeah.
We never an Amazon package room. That was unheard of. Even when we started, when we first got into the Alapata market, yeah, Amazon was a thing, but it wasn't what it is now. And we just started stacking boxes on the front desk and stacking in the common areas. So now Amazon package rooms, it's a must. It's not, hey, it's an amenity. It's almost not an amenity you can pitch anymore as a plus. It's a requirement. Now the next evolution of that is refrigerated, because everybody's ordering Instacart and grocery deliveries. Look, we all live really busy lifestyles. Everyone's busy. Everybody's on the go. We're trying to be as efficient as we can in our daily lives. Technology is, it's good and bad, right? It keeps us efficient, but it also keeps us busy. So, again, these and things may eventually slide back in a different direction, but it is critical to stay on top of that.
Yeah. Have you found those Amazon lockers even more desirable or used more than your typical mail rooms? Because I found that the mail rooms are getting a lot less use from the younger
mail rooms are
generation.
mail rooms are the size they are because it's still a U.S. Postal Service requirement. The Amazon packaging is something that's grown project to project, gets bigger every time. But yes, there's a combination of third-party companies that manage them. It's easier that way. They send the driver the code, they'll send you the code, hey, you got a package. And there's the lockers or Amazon rooms, which is just shelving, kind of the Home Depot model. You have a number and a letter, and hey, that's where your package is.
Sure.
So we run a combination of the two. But yeah, those things are phenomenal. Just if for nothing else, to not have boxes all over, all over.
All over your foyer.
And then so many deliveries. Now, when you start designing the building, hey, now you need a separate entrance because you don't want all these packages all day coming through,
your front door.
high-end common areas. So there's a lot of nuance that comes into it, and every action has a reaction. So it's part of the fun, and I think that's why we do well, because it's what we enjoy. We're constantly solving a moving puzzle, and it's part of what we wake up excited to do every day. I think it shows in our product.
Good stuff. Well, let's do this. We're about 40 after. Let's take our break for our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Step into the future with EcoCrypt, a platform unifying decentralized finance with real-world utility, where value flows freely. From gaming achievements to real-world assets, everything can be tokenized, fractional, and accessible in one trusted ecosystem. For gamers, investors, and global communities, EcoCrypt is breaking down barriers and democratizing finance. Join the revolution. Visit ecocryptusa.com today.
All right, welcome back to Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast. Again, we're here with Ralph Calderon from the Neology Group. So we were talking about South Florida and the amazing things that you did with your number 17 project. I think that was phenomenal. Project 14, I wanted to talk about that a little bit because that is also a project that faced challenges, and we all did in the marketplace, where there were massive price escalations and construction costs. But you guys were able to kind of work around that. How did that really change the way you had to structure that deal during construction to make it still work and deal with the supply chain issues that we were all confronted with?
Yeah, so that one, it's funny because the project right before the Julia, it was a little bit more supply chain and some escalations. And then by the time we got to the Northwest, the 14th of Northwest 36th Street, then it was supply chain opened up, but the price escalation just kind of kept going. And yeah, look, overall, I will have, overall GMP was, was still in the single digit overrun of total GMP. We had to, that's when, so as I told you earlier, we're somewhat vertically integrated. And part of what we did, excuse me.
Okay.
I'm walking by.
No
Part of what we did, So on that one we started kind of taking on some of the scope ourselves. So we do our own framing drywall, we do some finish work.
Okay.
And again, having partners is important. We sat down with our
Mhm.
general contractor and said, all right, certain things, we're going to pay the escalation on materials. And we're, especially myself, construction driven first. That's my part of the company. That's
Yeah.
what I pride myself in, and that's what I focus on. So,
Mhm.
hey, I'm going to pay you. Give me your base price. You were buying concrete at X. I'm going to pay you cost on the overage.
Mhm.
No overhead and profit. I'm not going. We were very fortunate. None of the projects we never got hit with any real escalations due to labor shortages.
Okay.
Maybe we were just insulated from that. I don't know, but we were very fortunate. So that was one. We took on some of the major scopes in-house, self-perform.
Okay.
You figure, well, I mess up a little bit and it cost me 10%. Well, it's better than paying 30% up front, and
Yeah. Yeah.
actually we were below on a lot of them. So, you have to stay nimble and flexible. We were able to, talking to our partners, there were some escalations, as I said, the project went
Mhm.
a little bit above, but working with our construction partners, which was phenomenal, and our financial partners on the project, our institutional partners, it was really seamless. I mean, other than the fact that everybody had to get used to, okay, it's costing us a little more, but it was nothing out of the ordinary. You're a lender, and I tell you, hey, I'm having these escalations. You're going to tell me, I know, I'm seeing it everywhere in all my projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether as long as they're within reason.
Mhm.
And like I said, we VE'd some things, not a ton of value engineering, but you have to. We
Mhm.
kind of reshuffled some numbers and went from the construction side. And again, like I said, we didn't make any money on certain trades that typically the GC would have.
Yeah.
We provided those services ourselves, and
Mhm.
overall we came out on the other side of it, and that's actually probably the project that's leased up the fastest.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to say we leased that project that we hit over 90%. And again, like I said, I don't handle as much the management side, but we were over 90% within about 6 months.
Mm.
That was again another testament to staying true to your plan
Yeah.
and just work that plan and shift
Just stick to it.
shift when you need to, be flexible. But yeah, we saw it coming before we started the project. Also, we didn't completely get blindsided because we started seeing it towards the tail end, because that project started as we were wrapping up the previous one, the
Yeah.
previous 323 units. Um, so we started prepping for it a little bit.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And
And fortunately
14th.
carried some contingency.
Yeah. And that 14th project has how many units again?
237, split into
237.
two buildings.
Okay, so 90% in 6 months is not bad. That's a pretty
Yeah,
good absorption rate. Yeah, that's
very good.
not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
our
very
lenders were
good.
happy.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah. Well,
And your investors.
it lets you kind of finance out of those, out of the construction and the bridge loans, and start lowering, that cost of
Carry
capital.
costs. Yeah, exactly. Yep, yep. So now, one thing about South Florida, I know over the last few years, it's absorbed a tremendous amount of capital. There's been a lot of migration to the area. I know there's been a challenge with keeping up with infrastructure in parts of Miami. Rising water levels, which doesn't affect you as much, but it still is a Florida issue. Where do you see the supply demand imbalance, and where do you think the market's kind of getting ahead of themselves right now, or is everything just imbalance? I mean, what are you seeing?
Right. Look, right now, everything is, it's hard to say whether it's in balance or not. I can tell you just our specific, again, the ultra luxury market, single family booming.
Yeah.
Prices are getting insane.
Mhm.
Ultra luxury condos also seem to be doing very well. Some rentals, there's a lot of projects that are in the works, but some were supposed to break ground Q1, still haven't broken
Mhm.
ground. I think we're in a very fortunate, extremely fortunate place where I constantly keep my finger on the pulse of
Mhm.
construction pricing. The numbers, yeah, they went up, but we're underwriting to that, and they've leveled out. We're still a solid about a year or so away from from breaking ground on another project. And I think there's been you look at the county numbers, and they say that there right now is between a 30 and 50,000 unit workforce housing deficit. Those are county numbers. Is it more people, or is it partially because there's been a significant reduction in new product coming to the market? I want to say 23, there was something 23, 24, 25,000 new units. There's supposed to be 8 or 9,000 new units in 2026 coming to market. We'll see what the final numbers are, but I think that helps us, considering we'd be entering the market in 2029. So again, this business is it's a business of the long game. Yeah, we have to focus on what's happening now, but we have to think 2 and 3, 4, 5 years, 5 years ahead. From when you identify a property, when you turn it over, you tell an investor, someone that's not in the business, hey, you're not going to see a dollar for 5 to 6 years, or hey, this is going to be completed in 5. By the time we close on it, pre-development, entitlement phase, and build it, 5, you're crazy. That's what it takes.
Typical.
And it flies by. You look, you think back 10 years ago, it felt like I just started that. And every time you look in the mirror, you realize, yeah, these projects do take a while. A lot of stress. But look, we are in a very strong, I think we're still in a strong market, a strong opportunity market. Like everything, we've been very good at seeing, hey, what are the coming trends, changing design styles, what type of product we're focusing on, both physically and geographically. And that's, we just had a meeting this morning. We have our quarterly, quarterly committee meetings. And that was one of the topics is, hey, this is kind of the next quarter, 6 months. This is some of the focal points of what we want for new business. And some things are similar, some things are very different of what we're focusing on in terms of areas.
They just got to be adaptable. Yeah,
you have to be adaptable, and you brought them up early on, right? The big guys,
Jorge and
if you look at them, Tara, some of the other some of the greatest developers down here, they have, they don't just do one thing. Yeah, they do that one thing, they do each thing very well, but eventually you have to expand and start. I don't see us never say never. We're not ultra luxury, we're not going to those markets with them, but I think we're starting to consider some other things geographically and kind of some different things from the constructability aspect, and part of that is cost of construction.
So are you going to dip at all, do you know, in the affordable market, or you're kind of staying right there in the workforce housing?
No, right. Our where we cut our teeth and we plan to stay is that workforce housing market. I think there's a huge need for that. I think the cost of living down here, I think there's probably more people even entering that market. That there's more and more need for that every day. So I think that's, we're comfortable there. Just the type of product that we will start delivering, will vary, but we're very, that's where we're comfortable. That's the area we know. We've created a name for ourselves, and I think I'm comfortable saying, we provide some best in class product when it comes to that attainable luxury workforce market.
Right. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So that's your space, and I get it. Let me ask you one other thing. What have you found the appetite for institutional capital to be these days? There's been such an ebb and flow because it's like there's tariffs, there's no tariffs, there's this, there's that. It's just like, there's a war, there's no war.
Well, that's the thing. It was, all right, we're over the tariffs, we're over, everybody's all in. And no, just kidding. We got a war now.
Right.
That's not primarily the part of the business that I deal with day to day, but obviously, it all goes together. But I can tell you that yes, there is the institutional capital does have an appetite for this product, this market. We are currently working with them now. We're actively working with a lot of institutional lenders, and we've been able to forge relationships that their views of the future, and not just the product, but the areas that we're looking at align with ours very well. So, we again, we're comfortable and confident and and blessed to be in the position we're in.
Yeah.
But I think overall, uh, you know, the South Florida market is still very strong. And by South Florida market, I obviously not just the Tri-County.
Yeah. Fort Lauderdale and all that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I get it. The and I did want to ask this just as a second part to that. Are you seeing more of a desire for capital to come in from overseas markets? Because one thing I do know about South Florida, you get a lot of Latin
Yes.
American capital that comes in as well. Is that kind of overshadowing the domestic capital, or what's really the dynamic going
So
on?
initially, that was most of our initial capital was overseas.
Uh-huh.
Mostly European in our case.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yes, overseas. But no, now we have, again, maybe it's just because of what we're focusing on, the
Mhm.
partners that we brought on, and the relationships. But I think there's a strong desire from domestic capital to deploy capital in this market.
Okay. Cool, cool. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, Raphael, I really appreciated this discussion. I hate that we didn't get a chance to talk before I came down because I would have loved to take a tour of your properties and whatnot. And but I will be back down that way, and we certainly can make some time to get together. So
All right. Now,
that would be great.
now you owe me an appointment.
Yes, yes,
Next time
absolutely.
you're in town.
Without a doubt,
I
without a
would
doubt.
love to, give you the lay of the land down there in Alapata and show you, show you what it is we do in person.
Yeah, we'll love that. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to be on the podcast, kind of
Mhm.
spread a little bit of awareness and knowledge of our company and what we do. And I appreciate everything you're doing and bringing and shining a light on a lot of a lot of important and relevant topics.
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate that. And we, like I said, everybody knows the Jorge Perez's, right? But everybody doesn't know some of the smaller groups
That's right.
that have done some great things as well. So I think those need to be highlighted as well. So
thank
I
you.
appreciate that. What else would you want our audience to know before we wrap up for the day as regards the company and what you guys are doing and everything else? I think you gave us a good overview, but is there anything that we
Yeah.
left out that you wanted to share?
No, I mean, I think I gave a good overview of who we are, what kind of
Mhm.
our core principles as a company. Um, Again, not just value driven, but lifestyle and experience driven. And I will say one thing with us, if you can call the office and speak to myself, Lisette. Everybody has our cell phones. We're always our tenants will tell you we're very accessible. So that might
Okay.
be something that you don't know about all companies, but we are
Yeah.
extremely accessible. Heck, I helped one of our tenants get his car out of a tow lot the other day that had nothing to do with us. But he
Yeah.
happened to call. I answered the phone, and everybody here is laughing. It took about 2 hours on Friday, but if we're not willing, to help, the tenants get a step closer to where they
Mhm.
want to get a solution, then why should anyone else, right?
Yeah, yeah. And now that tenant will never forget that either. So.
Yeah.
That's a good
So,
point. Yeah, yeah. Well, no, we greatly appreciate it. We think it was a great conversation. You guys are doing great work down there in the Alapata, if I pronounced that right, part of
yeah, just
Miami.
remember alligator.
Right, right. For y'all who don't know, that means alligator in, I guess, Spanish,
No, forget which Native American
Portuguese or
tribe,
something.
and I apologize. I should know
Oh,
what
one of
tribe,
the Indian
but Native
tribes.
American tribe.
Okay, all right. Well, cool. It could be Seminole. Yeah,
West.
cool.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna get called out for that for sure.
Yeah, I'm
Should
sure.
have known
I'm
that.
sure. People protesting in front of your office, right?
Yeah,
Should have
yeah,
known that. Yeah.
yeah. The hard
Good
drive's
job.
full, guys. I'm trying to delete information. They take new one in.
Sounds good. So, all right, man. Well, hey, we greatly appreciate it. We thank you for that. Oh, you know what? I did forget one thing, and I apologize. Our engineer, Jomar, were there any questions that came in that I needed to address, and I didn't ask earlier, so I do apologize for that. But anything that's sitting out there that we need to cover before we go? No question. Okay. All right. Sounds okay. All right. Sounds good. Well,
If anything
but
comes
you
up,
guys,
just email me.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We'll make sure that if you have any questions for Raphael, and you want to find out more on the market and the products that they're doing down there, feel free to reach out to us here at the Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast. We'll make sure Raphael gets that information and is able to provide you with whatever help you need. So, again for us here at the show. We thank you so very much. We look forward to having you with us next week on another very exciting show here with the Mornings with Joel CRE podcast. And Raphael, you enjoy your time down there in South Florida. Have a wonderful day looking at the ocean.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great afternoon. Thank you, folks. We'll see you next week.
Are you ready to level up in commercial real estate? Join us on Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast, where we bring you exclusive interviews with top deal makers, investors, and industry leaders. Sponsors reach a high-value audience of real estate professionals. Guests share your expertise and grow your influence. Don't miss out. Book your spot today. Are you ready to level up in commercial real estate? Join us on Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast, where we bring you exclusive interviews with top deal makers, investors, and industry leaders. Sponsors reach a high-value audience of real estate professionals. Guests